Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon and welcome to this second Pay and Reward Survey webinar of a series of 4 that we're doing across the next couple of weeks. This afternoon's webinar is around how employers can use the Pay and Reward report. I'm just going to get the panel to introduce themselves. So my name is Laura Woodward. I'm one of the Career and Professional Development Specialists at the Royal Society of Chemistry. I do have a background in HR, so in recruitment and HR, and have had experience of benchmarking previously. I'll get my colleague Julie to introduce herself next.
Hello, yes, I'm Julie Franklin. I'm one of Laura's colleagues in the Career and Professional Development team. So, this survey is a really useful resource that we're very glad to be talking to you about today.
And we're also joined by Alex. So, Alex, if you want to introduce yourself.
I'm sure. I'm Alex Reip. I'm CEO of Oxford NanoSystems, a nano coating company based down in Abingdon. And I've used the 2017 survey a lot in recent years, and sort of helped look into the 2019 one.
Brilliant, excellent. So as you can see on the agenda, we're going to highlight the Pay and Reward survey and obviously discuss how you might want to use that as an employer. And then we're going to just touch on some of the, I guess, the more sort of practical things that you might want to think about when you're benchmarking jobs. And then we're going to put some questions to Alex around how he's used the survey, so just get that sort of perspective as an employer. So the Pay and Reward survey for 2019 is now live on the website. There's the URL in order to find it, which you can download the report. And just to remind people that it is a member benefit. In order to access the report, you do need to be a member. This year's been the 100-year anniversary of the survey, so there's lots of interesting things within the report looking at how things have changed over that 100-year period, and then obviously there's all the information that's come from those who completed the survey this year. So if we start thinking about benchmarking and why we sort of benchmark, there could be really, I guess, a couple of reasons as to why you are sort of thinking about benchmarking some jobs, all jobs, just one job. Firstly, could be around recruitment, so wanting to look and sort of research around sort of rates of pay that you want to offer, maybe for a new job in your organisation, or just doing a sort of a sense check that you're recruiting for that job at the right sort of level. Another reason why organisations might look to benchmark salaries is to really sort of review where they sort of currently are in terms of their salaries. So maybe carrying out an exercise to ensure that they are sort of keeping up to date with sort of market rates. And I've sort of outlined there a sort of a process that you'd think about undertaking if you were looking to sort of carry out that sort of process of reviewing sort of current jobs within your organisation. So the first things to think about are obviously ensuring that the job descriptions are up to date and very much focusing those job descriptions on the job. So not thinking about who is in those jobs, doing those jobs, and what skills and qualifications they necessarily have, but very much focusing it on what you want that role to be about. So like I say, very much focusing on the jobs themselves, and you might be liaising and talking to staff about those job descriptions, getting their input, and sort of explaining as well why you're sort of carrying out that process. And obviously you're going to want to sort of gather information and data, which is obviously where the Pay and Reward survey can come into play. So you can be looking there for information around sort of sectors, levels of responsibility, and all those sorts of things. The survey obviously doesn't delve down into individual specific job titles, but it will give you an overall sense of where salaries should be sitting. You can also obviously just look generally on sort of recruitment sites to see, you know, what other people are paying for those sort of similar types roles, similar types of jobs titles. So use a variety of different sources of data to kind of make your decision. You can of course use specialist sort of benchmarking organisations who will kind of go out and do all that sort of gathering as well, but I guess it depends on the sort of size of organisation that you're looking at. And also do you know, particularly if you're doing something internal, you know, make sure there is an appeals process for those people who maybe at the end of that process of having their job benchmarked, you know, might come out lower than they expected. So do make sure there is a process internally if that's something you're thinking about. If we move on to the next slide now, I think it's important to, when you're thinking about your salaries and sort of benchmarking against other organisations and what you want to pay, just remember that it isn't all about the salary. So that isn't the only thing that you want to be thinking about. You know, consider what other benefits you might want to be offering, you know, recognising that actually there is this total reward package. So, you know, not just someone's salary, but also what other things people are attracted to or would like as part of their reward package. And on page 40 of the survey, there is a breakdown of all the other sort of benefits that people are offered, so that can give you a good sense of, you know, what things are most common, what do people I guess what people's expectations are of what they would also expect to see when they're starting a job or working. Obviously consider your location as well. That will obviously have an impact on sort of salaries and where you're basing yourself. Do also think about where you want to place yourself as an employer. So some people might very much take a conscious decision of getting all that data and that information and then saying, but actually we want to pay over and above what the sort of standard rate is. Actually, we live in a geographic location that's maybe difficult to attract candidates, so we recognise we might need to pay a bit more, or actually we want to pay more because we want to attract you know, the best candidates. So think about where you want to pitch yourself in terms of where you ultimately place your salaries. So that just gives a very sort of brief overview of just some things to think about and how you can sort of utilise the survey. So I'm going to ask Alex some questions now. So Alex, you sort of mentioned at the start that you'd been involved with this year's pay and reward survey, and I guess it would be useful to just understand what your involvement was with the survey and why you decided to get involved.
I'm sure. Well, as I mentioned, I've used the survey a lot over the last couple of years, the old one, and it really helped because we brought in investment. We were a very small company, and they needed to basically expand. And looking through, as you mentioned, benchmarking against all other websites and things, I found it sort of rather difficult to really get the information. And so going back and actually finding the 2017 survey was fantastic, just seeing the amount of information that was there. I got in touch with the FRSC to see whether there'd been any sort of small updates that had been done to it, just to see how things have changed. And yeah, got asked whether I would mind just sort of putting in some information for the new one. And so it was things like looking at looking at some of the questions that would be asked to see whether they'd be useful, sort of seeing whether anything needs to be changed in that kind of respect.
Brilliant. And as an SME, how important and useful is that data that you can access in the report?
It's incredibly useful for us. I do all of the or did all of the HR myself, as happens in small companies.
Yeah.
And so to be able to get the information out, not only about sort of the salaries that are around, but then also the other kind of benefits that people are looking at, sort of what training people are sort of requesting or would find useful, so that as you were saying, when we're sort of looking to recruit, we can do a full package rather than just sort of focus on the pay. As you know, we want to make sure that we aren't underpaying people, but then as we're a sort of still a pre-revenue company, we can't pay sort of the large salaries that that you can get in other companies.
Yeah, and what I mean, you touched on some, I think, already, but what particular things were you interested in looking at in that report?
Yeah, it was things like the sort of the nice graphs on the salary ranges by age and also by qualification. The benefits that people are looking for, so sort of the extra skills that are useful. So there was in the new one lots of sort of leadership and management courses people are interested in, and also the challenges. I thought was sort of very good to make sure that sort of that can then be brought up not only when we're creating new jobs, but to look back at the employees that we already have to see that whether the challenges are the same for sort of my people, and that then we can look to put on things like more training and other things to help.
And what other things are you considering when you're looking at that reward for your staff?
I'm sort of do a lot for training, because I think that a lot of people come out and go into companies after they've done their degrees, their PhDs, and they're missing a lot of sort of training which they can get on the job that would sort of really help, like management training and leadership. I mentioned is sort of, I think, one of the largest in the news survey as well. So I want to make sure that people, when they join us, they know that they can sort of go and that we'll put on training programs. We'll sort of be able to sort of to manage people wherever they are in their career. So even for the early stage people that we have, we've got a very good placement scheme which we started thanks to the FRSC Enterprise Plus scheme, and a lot of our sort of early career staff, we give them some management responsibility of sort of the students that we have in, to make sure that they sort of get that knowledge, not only the training, but then actually can use it in the workplace.
And I think, you know, you've touched on actually some of the things that have sort of come out from the survey, and actually I think, you know, one of the sort of key things that certainly kind of I sort of noticed was around the fact that actually salary isn't the biggest motivator for people. They are looking for other things. So things like training actually, you know, become more important or as important as actually what their sort of pay packet is at the end of the day. So it's good that you're sort of able to get all that information from the survey, make that judgment.
Yeah, definitely, and sort of other things that we found, like, you know, location, and also being able to have a more sort of varied job. So we make sure that people, you know, they've got their normal day job, but they can go around and look and do other bits in the company. Again, it always helps being a small company to be able to do that, but it just makes people feel much more rewarded and much more sort of motivated in their positions.
Brilliant, excellent. So if anyone who's listening wants to sort of type in any questions, hopefully Julie will start reading those out to me and Alex now. They're coming through.
Okay, we have had a question here. How often should I be looking to benchmark my existing employees? So how often should this process occur?
Oh, that's a really good question. I guess, I mean, there is no sort of hard and fast rule, and I guess it, you know, it depends on the size of your organisation and all those sorts of things, because obviously it is a time consuming process. But I would suggest probably it's good practice to probably think about doing it, you know, every sort of 10 years or so, perhaps if you're a larger organisation. Or actually sometimes it's worth, you know, if actually you're continually finding actually it's difficult to recruit, or you're struggling to recruit, actually is that around salary? Are there things that you need to be thinking about? Are there things that you need to be sort of checking? So sometimes that can sort of trigger that sort of thought or process. So there's no sort of right or wrong answer on that. I think it's just sort of making a judgment for yourself as to sort of what seems appropriate.
Okay, thanks for that. There's another one that's come in here. Any tips for communicating benefits changes to employees?
I guess it depends which way around they are. Are they adding to them or sort of taking away? I don't know.
That is true.
Question. I mean, I guess in some ways it doesn't matter too much, other than to be sort of open and sort of communicate those things. If it's around, you know, taking something away, you know, it's being very clear about the reasons behind that, and having conversations around that. If it's adding to the benefits package, then that's, you know, usually seen as a really positive thing. But I think in either scenario, it's around sort of keeping that communication open and being clear behind those decisions, you know, what's led to those changes.
Okay, have you got anything to add to that, Alex, from your perspective?
I think, yeah, open communication is always the best way of doing it too. I agree. I guess I've never had the issue of having to go back on benefits, so I can't really give any advice on that. But yeah, if it's sort of making something positive, then definitely not only put it out to staff, but then also when you're bringing in new people as well, make sure that it's put in either the job description or in an interview if you're having it, because although it might seem small, you know, some certain things like flexible working, for example, can sort of really make a big deal if people are choosing between a few different organisations.
Yeah, I agree. I think sometimes we perhaps focus too much on what the pay is, and then everything else gets lost. And actually there is, whilst there's no sort of monetary value to that flexible working, actually it could have real value to the individual. So I think, you know, where people are offering benefits, you know, do really shout about it and tell people about them.
Okay, thanks very much for that. Okay, we have one last question coming in now. It says, can I talk to the RSC about the data behind the report, or look at cross sections of the specific data? And I think I'll answer that one. Yes, you can is the simple answer. Where sample sizes allow, we can share some of the data with you. And if you would like to know more, I'd suggest that you drop us an email, careers@rsc.org. That will be up on the screen later, and just pose us your question and we will try our best to answer it. Okay, I think that's all the questions for now. Were there any other points that Laura or Alex wanted to raise?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
No, not from my side.
Okay, right. Well, I'm just going to run through a few useful links which the RSC does provide. Now, whether or not you're an RSC member, we do have services for you. If you're an employer and an RSC member, we've got even more services to offer you. So what I would suggest you do is that if you haven't looked at our website for a long time, and this goes for members and non-members, do have a look at our main website there, which is www.rsc.org. There are lots of services there. We do very much welcome feedback on all our services. If you can think of things that we're not doing that you'd like us to do within reason, you know, do let us know, and you know, just make sure that you're getting your money's worth out of your membership with us if you are a member. Now, someone asked where to find the pay and rewards survey report. The top web link there is where you will find it. But as Laura said right at the beginning of the broadcast, it is a member benefit. So you will need to be a member yourself to log in on that link and see the report, or you know, find somebody in your company who is a member if you are not. It's fairly easy to get into if you have a membership number. It's also worth mentioning our industry team. I suspect that a lot of you listening in maybe come from small to medium-sized enterprises, SMEs like Alex does, and we do have a whole network through our industry team called Enterprise Plus, which it would be worth you having a look at and deciding whether it might be a good thing for your company to join. It was interesting that Alex mentioned training earlier on, because there are training vouchers available through the Enterprise Plus scheme. I'm not an expert on it myself, but I really do think it would be worth you exploring what we can do for SMEs if that's the kind of organisation that you work in. I
can give a few of the other benefits if interested, because we've been a member of the Enterprise Plus scheme for a while. It's a sort of a free service to join if you're I can't remember if you're a micro company. Above. And the training vouchers have been really useful, and it's what we've used a lot to send people on training courses. You can also get 3-month internships that are paid for by the RSC as well. And then there's sort of lots of other industry events that they sort of put on, so it's well worth doing.
Right, thank you for that, Alex. We didn't bribe you to say that at all, did we? Not at all. That was completely off the cuff. No, it is a very valuable scheme. They run training events, networking events, so I would encourage you to have a look at that. And also, it's interesting, Alex mentioning training again. The bottom link there, the careers link, rsc.org/careers. Through that page, you can actually access a database of approved training courses that we compile. They're all offered by third parties. They're not RSC courses, but they have all been inspected by people from the RSC to make sure that they meet the required standards. So if you're looking at training for yourself or your employees, maybe that's a safe way to find a course that will meet your and their expectations. The networks link, it's always worth being networked. The RSC network is a big network of over 50,000 members. So there are ways that you can connect with other members geographically or by the area that you work in. We've got more commercially orientated groups like the management group, for example, and the consultancy group. So again, if you're not familiar with the kind of networking opportunities you can get with the RSC, it's worth having a look at that link there. The careers link, which I've already mentioned, there's a lot of information on there about managing careers, about managing certain stages of your careers. There's a lot on there that you don't have to be a member to actually access. There's a lot of free information on there. And if you are a member, there's explanations of how you can get in touch with us to get more in-depth information or a careers consultation and all of that kind of thing. So again, if you're not aware of all these resources, I would encourage you to have a look. Laura and I belong to the Career and Professional Development team, so we can provide support for members at all career stages. We can actually provide one-to-one consultations in person, by phone or Skype. And in doing that, we offer guidance on career planning, specific things like applications and interviews. We offer support for individuals' professional development. We have an award-winning mentoring scheme, which our fellow panelist Laura actually organises, which has been a great success. And again, if you're an RSC member, you're very welcome to apply to have an independent mentor through the RSC. We can help and advise on networking. There's a lot on our web pages there. And there's our email address that I mentioned earlier, careers@rsc.org. So anything we've spoken about today that you'd like to know more about, that's absolutely great. Just email us on that email address and we'll do our best to help you. So I think that's all I've got to say now about benefits of being an RSC member, and even benefits that you can get if you're not an RSC member. So I'm going to hand back to Laura now to summarise.
Thanks, Julie. Thank you all for listening this afternoon. If anyone who is listening has any specific questions around benchmarking, sort of running a benchmarking process and wants to have a chat with me, that's absolutely fine. Use that careers@rsc.org email if you want to get in touch. And just to finish off, just to say thank you to Alex for your input this afternoon. I think it was useful to sort of understand how you use the report and sort of the different aspects of it, not just focusing on the numbers, as it were. So thank you for your input as well this afternoon. And thank you all for listening.
Okay, right. Well, I think we've come to the end now. So the broadcast is about to finish. I hope you found it useful, and do get in touch. There's our email address again if there's anything else that you would like to know about the Pay and Reward Survey 2019, or anything else for that matter. So thanks for listening. Goodbye.